This HyVee Perks 250 Betting Picks 2025 edition of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Get up to a $1,000 deposit match when you sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com. Promo code RACESGPN.
Driver, start your engine!
Strap in and pull those belts up tight as the Sports Gambling Podcast Network presents the NASCAR Gambling Podcast.
I'm just gonna put my foot on the floor and I'm not lifting till I see God or a checkered flag.
My man.
With all the news and the best bets for your NASCAR weekend.
We want to thank you tonight for these mighty machines that you brought before us. Thank you for the Dodges and the Toyotas. Thank you for the Fords. Lord, I want to thank you for my smoking hot wife tonight, Lisa. In Jesus' name, boogity, boogity, boogity.
Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb.
Welcome in to another episode of the NASCAR Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez, and today we talk Xfinity Series and, of course, the Iowa race, the HyVee Perks 250. Cody, it's Iowa. It's close to you. You've been to this racetrack before. You've seen these race cars before. What kind of race are we in for this weekend, buddy?
Yeah, it's this is a great racetrack. Wish I was going to be able to make it out there this weekend. Unfortunately, not able to attend, but have been to Xfinity races there way back in the day, back when this track opened, I think 06 area. Went to some then, of course, went to the IndyCar race there just a couple of years ago. And it's billed as the fastest short track in the world, and I think it holds up to that. It's a 7/8 mile track, and it's very well. It's weird because it's banked to bring speed, but not like, I don't know. And we sort of talked about this yesterday when trying to find like comp tracks and whatnot. But it's banked enough to bring that speed, but it still kind of races like a short flat. So it's kind of a cross in between and kind of a unique in its own way, I guess. But very exciting track. Xfinity Series, as we know, puts on great racing just about each and every single week. We've got some exciting names in this race, some recently added within the last day, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But yeah, should be a good one. I'm excited.
Yeah, and as for, look, when we talk about comp tracks, I think there was an interesting thing brought up earlier. I think it was the JDK that was talking about how, and I only bring this up because he agreed with me. And, honestly, that's all I care about. In that it's so anymore, like, and you brought up a good point too, in comping tracks, right? We always say comp tracks, but the 1.5 mile cookie cutter tracks are all gone, and even still, they weren't necessarily cookie cutter tracks because each of them had their own.
Are they all gone, Rod, or are they coming back next year? Oh, Chicagoland! Oh gosh!
Don't spoil the news.
Oh,
we got a couple of news things to get to, but yeah, again, it's the days where you could directly just go from 1.5 miles to the next and kind of call it a day are gone, right? And even these short tracks and even these intermediate tracks all have very different tendencies, and it's just very difficult to say this is a direct comp track. So as we talk about comp tracks in the future, and we've had this discussion, I think, a couple times before, just keep in mind that you can't just compare every two track the same. And this track, again, one of the more unique on the circuit, not only because of its distance, but because of its composure.
Yeah, and Sam checking in the chat. He was also in the Discord this morning as we were having that conversation. Brought up Richmond, a track we didn't really touch on too much yesterday, but certainly some comparisons to that as well. Just hard because you got to go a long time ago for the last time we were at Richmond. So, lumping it in with everything else, yes, I think it's great. But it's definitely the comp thing has shifted a lot lately. Xfinity now we're coming into talking to today. You've got Dover to look at a couple of weeks ago. You've got Phoenix to go back on earlier this year, just like in the Cup Series. But sometimes in this series, it can be even harder to go back to previous years because so much changes. You got drivers shifting series and rides, and a lot of things are different than they normally were. Certainly some things you can go back and look at, but Xfinity, it tends to be more, what have you done for me lately? What are things looking like this season? But makes it exciting.
Well, yeah, and then of course the fact of the matter is they've been here once in the recent era. 2019 was the last time they were here before that. So, yeah, I mean it's only been one race to go back on. A lot of these guys weren't even born yet the last time they raced here. Wait, never mind. No, they weren't in the cars yet when they were. They're also damn young. It's just that's the way it is. Ash checking in saying, "Evening, lads."
Hey, Ash.
Asking about prices for hosts of our.
Not yet.
Get out of the dog.
We're getting there in a sec, but not yet.
I will tell you, though, there are some great things to be seen and heard from the Sports Gambling Podcast. They're back with their 32 NFL team previews, and they're also bringing back the phrase that pays. Each episode, they're going to give out a one word of a 32-word phrase. Submit the phrase for a chance to win a $1,000 Circa future. Cody, it is on the best of information that I have, that you are going to be joining the gentleman today. And have you begged them? Tomorrow.
I'll be on tomorrow, which will be, depending when you listen to this, might be today. But I will be on with them Thursday. The plan is to be live around 3:30 Central Time over at Sports Gambling Podcast, their YouTube channel. So we'll be live over there. Definitely make sure you check that out. But yes, we'll be talking about the Patriots over there. And I have not been given the keyword, the code word for the phrase that pays. I'll have to get it, much like everyone else, live during the show.
I thought your negotiating skills were better than that, Cody. Never mind. I guess
it doesn't matter. I have all the answers so far for all the shows that have been made, and for the right price, I might clue you in. Who knows?
Ooh, I tell you what. Let's talk after the show. We'll get those phrase that pays. All right. So listen, we talked earlier. There's a couple of pieces of news, some big news coming out of the Xfinity camp specifically. We already know, we talked about it yesterday, Austin Hill suspended for the race. And did we know? I think we knew Austin Dillon was taking over, right?
Yeah, that all broke during the show yesterday. If you weren't listening to the Cup Series episode or you haven't yet, just to touch on it quickly, Austin Hill was suspended yesterday by NASCAR for right-hooking Eric Almirola at Indianapolis. RCR immediately came out and said they will not appeal the suspension. Hill will miss this weekend in Iowa. Austin Dillon is going to fill in for him in the number 21 car. So Austin Dillon will be racing for RCR in this race in the 21 car for Hill. Hill loses all of his playoff points he had earned. He's got 3 wins on the season, I believe it was. So he's lost all of those, and he will not be able to occur anymore until the playoffs start. And Bob Bocker's made a great point on that. I think the reason they did that was, well, if you get suspended after Daytona, you don't really lose anything, right? If you're able to keep getting them. If you get suspended now, you're going back and you're losing things. So it just makes it a clean penalty across the slate. So I believe once the playoffs start, he is able to, get points and carry them over round to round, assuming he advances. But he does lose all of those. So Austin Dillon will be in the number 21 car. We learned about that yesterday, touched on it a little bit yesterday. But news came out this morning, Rod. Colleague Racing has parted ways with Josh Williams. Unconfirmed reports that as Josh Williams left, he just parked his car in the driveway of Colleague Racing and walked away, never to be heard from again.
Park it, Josh.
Again, unconfirmed reports. But, he is no longer with the 11 team, and that begins this week at Iowa. So what are they going to do with the 11 car? Well, Carson Hocevar are going to fill in this week. They immediately announced that he would be the replacement driver. So he'll be in this week. What do they do week to week going forward? Maybe it's a bit of an all-star car till the end of the regular season, but you won't be able to do that after that, right? Corey LaJoy? Maybe? Or who knows, right? There's plenty of other people out there in the Chevy pipeline and truck drivers you can look at, certainly, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see who they have fill in for the rest of the year. Why they parted ways with Williams, I mean, after that big Talladega thing, he got all this support and all this money behind him, and that kind of launched him into this ride. He's not done much with it. It's hard to tell. Kaulig is such a weird company because they sometimes have great runs and good cars, but a lot of times the cars are the problem. They get good drivers in the cars, and sometimes that makes up the difference. Hard to tell. He was really kind of in points, not far from the other guys, Daniel Dye and Christian Eckes, but maybe some funding dried up. Who knows what the case was there? But Williams out immediately, effective immediately, and Hocevar will be in that 11 car this weekend.
Yeah, and between Eckes and Williams, it seemed like Eckes was on the better trajectory because of maybe the talent or maybe the attention, who knows, and it just felt like Williams was there, right? I mean, you were always like, okay, Williams maybe a fringe top 10 contender, and then it never really fully played itself out to the way it should. So maybe they were getting a little frustrated, maybe because obviously Williams was there and then Eckes came in, and then it was just a matter of, so I don't know, does Raja Karuth kind of fill that role for a little while and hold the hot seat, right? That's like Nate.
Yeah, I don't know what he's got scheduled with the 17 car. If he has, I think he's got a race or two coming up, but he's potentially somebody in the Chevy camp. I was trying to think through just like truck drivers in Chevy. And boy, nobody was really jumping to mind right away. I mean, you got like the Grant Enfinger types if they're looking for more of a veteran guy, but I don't know, young guys, there will be some people there. Samuel Smith saying Williams will end up in a surprising ride. Do you think where he might end up, or are you just saying it will be a surprise when it happens? I'd love to know either way. But a couple other news items, Rod. Corey LaJoie announced on Stacking Pennies, his podcast, of course, that he is on standby to drive the car for Brad Keselowski if needed. Brad and his wife are expecting the birth of their child soon. So we've been through this, obviously, with Denny Hamlin recently, right? And he ended up missing, the Mexico City race. Ryan Truex jumped in the car. So LaJoie obviously has been with Ford this year, at least in the Cup Series. He's not with Ford in the Truck Series where he's driving for Chevy, but nonetheless. And Rick Ware is based out of the Roush Fenway Keselowski shop. So just makes a lot of sense, right? You're pulling a guy that's already in the shop. You can slide him in the 6 car if needed. I don't know size-wise. I think they're probably fairly close. Keselowski might be a little bit taller, but probably a easy transition as well. That matters, especially if it's somebody who jumps in during a race, of course. So of note that LaJoie will be on standby. One other piece of news, Rod, NASCAR not returning to Mexico City next season. I don't think this means they won't ever go back to Mexico City. I think that it just didn't make the cut for next season's schedule. But this opens up, according to The Athletic, Jordan Bianchi. Generally, when he reports things, he is correct. Actually, I don't know that he's really ever had a big story that he wasn't correct on, so take that for what it's worth. But likely, Chicagoland will slide into this spot on the schedule. If you don't know, 1.5-mile track, extremely similar to a Kansas, a Las Vegas. This car, in a general sense, 1.5 miles, has produced good racing. Hopefully, that continues to go. This track is sat in the Midwest in Chicago, empty for many years. We haven't been there. I think 2019 was the last time we were there. That was during Alex Bowman's win and kill tracks streak. If you go back and look, he had a couple of wins on tracks we didn't go back to after he won, which was interesting. But with the way the next gen's raced on the 1.5 miles, excited to see a track like that come back. Obviously, they're hoping they've rejuvenated that Chicago market. It's a big market they want to go into. That track's in Joliet, about 35 miles outside of Chicago proper, but in the Chicago suburbs. So it'll be great to see that track make a return as well.
Yeah, and I think them leaving the street course kind of opened it up for them to say, all right, listen, we're going to throw you a bone. We'll give you back Chicagoland, and you prove to us that you are a market that can handle this again because you did so well on the street course. And I don't know, but did they though? The racing on the street course was so crazy because of the weather, but maybe this will be better.
Yeah, I think the racing this past season was pretty good, and we got good racing the other years. So the weather obviously, mixed things up and changed up. But the SVG win the first year was pretty crazy, and then the weather the second year was crazy as well, and led to guys like SVG getting wrecked. But I think Chicago street course is still possible in the future, right? And the San Diego deal sounds like a 1-year deal for the naval base. maybe the DoD military just not willing to commit to more than that, depending on how things go. But there's a lot of things still open and in the works. We know that NASCAR is pushing hard to go to Canada still. Will that make the cut as well? A lot of things still to be answered before the full schedule comes out.
Tell you what, if NASCAR wants to go to another military installation, the Air Force Base close to me, Travis Air Force Base, I would absolutely love for them to set up on Travis. That's a gigantic area up there in the Fairfield area.
The Lincoln Airport has an air base here where the National Guard uses, and they race SCCA cars or whatever over on that. So we can put together a NASCAR race, Rod. We can make it work here.
Oh, listen, man. If you need a promoter, I am your man. Just give me a buzz.
Right.
All right. That's all that's news and noteworthy. Yeah, nothing really else to touch on.
I think that hopefully covers mostly everything. Stuart Friesen, we talked on him and his updates. He has made it back to New York, where he's going to be having his surgeries and stuff. Kind of poor timing, I suppose, but NASCAR did, or the appeals panel did uphold his disqualification from IRP this week. At this point, what does that really matter in the big picture of things? Probably not a ton, but noteworthy, I suppose.
It was literal insult to injury. It was, they're like, all right, we're going to kick you.
It's one of those things where it's like, damn, this is on the docket for today. Like, okay, we're going to uphold this. Just put out a little release. Hope nobody notices. Poor guy. But
they're like, Stuart Friesen, we're sorry. We got to pile this on to you right now. It's our bad. All right. Well, then it is time to begin discussing this Iowa race. But as always, before we do, allow me to tell you about our friends over at MyBookie. We're brought to you by MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is your place to bet on every sport, including the MLB, WNBA, golf, and of course, football futures. MyBookie accepts customers from a ton of locations. There's easy deposit and lightning fast payouts using cryptocurrency. Canadian Football League, my baby boy. You guys have pounded this line down. It was 5.5 at one point. It was 4.5. Now it's down to 3. The Ottawa Red Blacks are now 3-point favorites over the Calgary Stampeders. And guess what? I am going to take the Ottawa Red Blacks -3 still over the Calgary Stampeders, -110. I told you they've beaten like the last 4 times that they've met these guys. And the money line is not even plus money anymore. Now it's 192 on the money line for the Ottawa Red Blacks. So you guys have been taking my advice and flipped the whole script. So good on you. Take advantage of it now before it goes away again. Head to mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN for a 100% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply. That's mybookie.ag, promo code SGPN. We told you about Rhythm, and you've heard us talk about Rhythm before. And they just dropped a game-changing feature called Power Trends. It's essentially the best of what their house model has to offer. Their AI detected patterns where Rhythm's model has consistently won a high ROI. Think a strikeout prop that wins 59% of the time when the line and win probability hit a certain range. Power Trends are updated daily and exclusive to Rhythm. No touts, no noise, just clean data-backed bets. MLB Power Trends are 254 and 147 with a win rate of 63% and an ROI of 4.5 in their past 400 bets. WNBA Power Trends 35 and 20 since the launch, 63.64% win rate with a 20.7 ROI. Go download that Rhythm app, check out Power Trends, and start betting smarter. You know we're going to be. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. There's no bigger designation of you being able to move lines from when you take an underdog to a favorite. That is true line moving right there.
That is true line moving. Lynn checking in. Rod says, as an Oakland native and lived in Fairfield for a while, that would rock having someone at TAFB. And then the 2025 SGPN NASCAR Gambling Podcast Bracket Challenge champion, Ash from across the pond checking in. Says, do you think it would ever come to Europe like the NFL has, which is huge over here? My Broncos are in London in October. Excited about that. I think absolutely. I think NASCAR is very interested in that. They had a race in Japan back in 1999 when they were trying to expand things out. Obviously, 2001 happened shortly after that in the NASCAR world and just globally with everything there. So I think that kind of put everything back, and then NASCAR kind of went into a recession and got away from the international stuff. But they branched out to Mexico. Actually, I guess, great, weird timing. But Canada was supposed to be on the schedule 2 years ago for the Cup Series, Rod. They were unable to get it figured out at the last second, and they had to pivot. Well, NASCAR owns the track in Iowa, so they said, shit, we're going to Iowa instead. Now here we are, right, with an Iowa race for the second year in a row, and because of that all not working out. But I absolutely think that they would love to have a race in Europe at some point in time. Obviously, the expense of that, we thought traveling to Mexico was hard, taking all that stuff overseas, right? Is definitely another thing, but certainly can be done. And I think that even if it's an exhibition before the season, maybe that's the Clash type of race. I think at some point we will see some more stuff overseas in the future.
Yeah, it's a difference between bringing like WWE across the pond versus an entire garage full of cars across into Europe. I know that the F1 does it and they have their own way of doing it, but still, it's
they do it, and we were both in the military. You are, and I was, but we travel and move equipment across seas all the time. I mean, it's doable, right? And logistically, they just have to figure it all out. But I think that definitely is something. I think they want to get to Canada maybe first, but I'm sure that's something that's on Ben Kennedy and the NASCAR team's radar.
What's on their radar now, though, is Iowa. It is the HyVee Perks 250, set for 250 laps around this 0.875 mile paved track for 218.750 miles around the Iowa Speedway in Newton, Iowa. Cody, you talked earlier about some flashy names that are on the entry list for this race. Do tell, who was suiting up for this race?
Yeah, well, the entry list has changed a lot since it originally came out yesterday, of course. But Ross Chastain was scheduled to be in the number 9 car for Junior Motorsports. He will be competing in that. Justin Bonsignor, modified guy, notable because this is a good track for them, right? He is going to be in the 19 car for Joe Gibbs Racing. Those were the two kind of notable entries initially on the list. Now, of course, we have learned with the Austin Hill suspension that Austin Dillon will be in the number 21 car. And then with the Josh Williams firing, that Carson Hocevar will be in the number 11 car. So going to take some getting used to on the broadcast as we watch. The 21 is typically, has been for years, Austin Hill in that car. So it'd be weird seeing Austin Dillon in that ride. And then the 11, I think we've sort of gotten used to Josh Williams being in that. I think this was his second season in that car. So seeing Hocevar in, the 19 car, we're used to seeing a different guy in that every week. Not so hard to adjust to. But, this will be a little bit different. But, it's made the entry list, a little more spicy, I suppose.
Indeed. Yeah, we're swapping Austins in the 21. And then you talked about the size difference between the Hill and Dillon. I got to tell you, I know there's a size difference between Josh Williams and Carson Hocevar. That's going to take some doing for that 11.
I saw Bob Pockrass tweeted out something about that, and he's like, think of all the changes going on this week in these shops because, Austin Hill obviously is a very large man, and Austin Dillon is not a large man. And then, Josh Williams is just a normal size guy, I think. But Carson Hocevar is one of the tallest guys in the entire garage. So, certainly a lot of swapping going out over there to get the proper fittings in all these cars. And I did find it funny. I was trying to find, of course, I can't find the tweet now that I had shared, but I think it was either NASCAR Chasm or NASCAR Man had said something about a lot of Austin crime going on in the Cup Series here lately because Austin Hill suspension. Last year at Richmond, we had the Austin Dillon thing. And then Austin Cindric got fined earlier this year at COTA when he had the right hook issue there, right? So, here it is. It was NASCAR Chasm. We're in an unprecedented Austin crime spree, is how he put it. With Austin Dillon being dropped from the playoffs, right? Because they took away his playoff eligibility or took away the eligibility from that win. Cindric got penalized after COTA, and then of course Austin Hill being suspended this week. So. Unprecedented Austin crime spree in NASCAR.
I think it just reminds you how many Austins there really are in NASCAR right now and brings it all into focus. But all right, Cody, let's say we start getting to some of these Iowa bets, shall we? Where are we beginning to fill out everybody's card?
Yeah, absolutely. Wanted to say hi to Laura real quick. She says, hi, guys. Hi, Laura. Always nice to see you in the chat. Rod, what are you sipping on there, Rod?
So it's 5 o'clock somewhere. In fact, I know it's 5 o'clock right now. And I've got myself a little Captain Morgan and root beer. I love it.
Nice. I like it. Very nice. Very nice. I'll be on Old Fashioned Football later this evening, so make sure you check that out. I'll have to bring some type of drink. I'll probably just a beer. I'm not really an old fashioned guy, but I'll imbibe in the alcohol one way or another. So there we go. All right, Rod. I'm going to start off the card with the top 5. By the way, shout out to ESPN Bet. We'll talk about it here in a few, but top 10s are back this week, and they did bring them back. Great reason to be in the Discord. We talked about this. They brought them back on race day last week, so that was good to see, but got them out nice and early this week. So glad that they've not given up on them. It's you gotta pick and choose. It's not all great, but we got the option, which we love. But I am going to start off with the top 5 that I love this week, and that's Sam Mayer, top 5 plus 150. Mayer is the defending race winner of this race. He won last year, leading 47 laps. Of course, he was in the junior motorsports car at the time. Now he's over with Haas factory team, I believe is what we're calling them these days. But Riley Herbst rather notably finished second in this race last year in a Stewart car. So you like to, or in a Haas car, I suppose, which you like to see. But Mayer's coming off a second place run at Indianapolis, kind of a little bit under the radar, right? He started first, led 32 laps out of the gate, then kind of fell back, but found his way back to second place. So you like to see that. He's been having a pretty strong season. 12th at Dover, you'd like a little bit better, especially when you're comping this track to that. But multiple top 5s this year. Atlanta, Coda here recently. Nashville, he had a top 5. Texas, he had a top 5. Martinsville, Miami, Las Vegas, all, back at Daytona as well, all top 5 finishes. Phoenix just outside of the top 5 in 7th place. So, back to our conversation from yesterday, the tracks we've been on this year that you could close comp to, it's going to be Dover, going to be Phoenix, just outside of there, which you'd like to see a little bit better. But going back to his win here last year, I like that. There's been some talk in the Discord lately, especially kind of led by the JDK, but this Xfinity field is lighter than it's been in previous years, right? And we talked about that a lot going into the season. It's not as top heavy as it has been. We don't, Zilisch has been on fire, Allgaier has been on fire, notably, but outside of that, it's kind of just not really a who's who. It's kind of a who is who. But Sam Mayer, kind of one of those guys that settled in to that next tier. I think he's going to show up with a fast hot rod this week. So give me Sam Mayer, top 5 plus 150.
I made the doc this week. I had one name in the box as I made the doc. I will have more to say about Sam Mayer later in the episode. But Cody did.
Usually whichever one of us creates the doc quickly writes a name, and even if we don't have odds, sometimes we'll just write a name like, this is a bit I have circled. You're not going to take it from me. So I opened the doc, and that was the one thing filled out in there was Mayer, a different bet. But I liked it so much, I wanted to add the top 5 to it.
And I back you on that one 100% because I have another thought about him later on in the show. But for now, I will turn my attention to your favorite driver, and that's Ryan Sieg. He's in a matchup over on ESPN against Christian Eckes. And at first, I was like, I'm taking the Eckes side of this because Eckes has seemed to be with the eye test, right? And this is the difference between watching as a fan and watching with your eyes versus digging into the stats, because sometimes you can look at the finish for Eckes and go, oh, that's great, and not even really pay attention to where the other person that you're trying to pit them against is, right? And then you're like, oh, that person must have finished afterwards because you weren't paying attention to where that person finished. And then you go back and you look and you're like, oh, wait, they actually did finish better than that. So then maybe I'm deceiving myself. And so this is what happens in this instance, right? Ryan Sieg, you just sort of lose track of him unless you're Cody and you're paying attention to where he's at all times. You got a tracker on your phone that alerts you that Ryan Sieg has moved from one side of the couch to the other, but I don't have that. So what I do have is the stats right in front of me. In the last couple of races for Ryan Sieg, a 5th place finish at Indianapolis, a 6th place finish at Dover. 2 good, solid top 10 finishes for Ryan Sieg over the last couple of races. I mean, look, it's not that terrible for Christian Eckes, 13th and 10th, but obviously it was Ryan Sieg that got the better of him. Go back a little while at Pocono. It was Christian Eckes getting Ryan Sieg by 2 positions, but this was a 3rd place finish for Eckes and a 5th place finish for Sieg. 8th place finish at Fort Worth for Ryan Sieg, and a 38th place finish for Eckes. Go all the way back to Phoenix. What we were talking about earlier is Cody talking about Phoenix being one of the comp tracks. 8th place finish for Eckes, 4th place finish for Ryan Sieg. 8th place at Martinsville, 7th place at Bristol for Eckes, for Sieg rather. 9th place at Bristol, 7th place at Darlington for Eckes. Look, this is going to be a really, really tightly contested battle because these guys are in and around each other a lot of the weeks. Eckes has an average finish this season of 18.2, whereas Ryan Sieg has an average finish of 17.3. But like I said, over the last couple of races, that 39 team has been able to stay out of the fracas long enough to put up a decent finish, and I think they can do that here at Iowa, not only because of what Ryan Sieg's been doing lately, but the fact that Ryan Sieg has 13 career starts at Iowa. I mean, the guy has been racing on this track since 2014, long before Christian Eckes was born. Okay, I'm just kidding. I'll stop with the young kid jokes, but very, very long ago, where Christian Eckes definitely not racing at that point. And he's got a lot of experience on this track. He's only got 1 top 10 finish, though, in 13 starts, but still 12th place in the 39 car in the 2014 season and the 2019 season. He does have a 2nd place finish in 2017, finished 15th and 12th in a couple other seasons. So, yeah, I mean, Sieg even led 8 laps here in the race last year. So he's going to be around the front. I know Eckes is going to be there too, but I think Ryan Sieg gets the better of him by just that much this week. So minus 120 for that one. Give me Ryan Sieg over Christian Eckes.
First of all, as I look at my Ryan Sieg tattoo over here, I am hardly ever going to go against Ryan Sieg, right? So I think that's well established. I love Ryan Sieg. He's a great race car driver. I looked at this one. I think that Christian Eckes is hard to trust. I love Christian Eckes as a driver. He made us so much money in the Truck Series last year. But these colleague cars, kind of to the Josh Williams point, they're unreliable, right? And they just, sometimes he'll be running great and things go wrong. Now, Eckes can make up for that, and at times we've seen him kind of, jump through and have great finishes. That's kind of what scared me away from grabbing this one. But if I'm picking a side, it's definitely Ryan Sieg, Mr. Consistent, going to be in the mix, always hanging out there over an Eckes who could be great occasionally, but car fails or has problems or things go wrong more than they don't, it seems like. So, yeah, I'll back you on this one for sure.
Well, and then you kind of get scared off a little bit because we talk about the Josh Williams things, and maybe, just maybe, a little more attention gets paid to that 16 car. But you've got Carson Hocevar in the 11, right? If anybody's going to end up coming down and doing better in that 11 car, it'll probably end up being Carson Hocevar. And here you are worried about Christian Eckes, your actual full-time driver all the time, but you got Carson Hocevar coming in. And, as much as I like to dog people and kind of poo-poo him a little bit, I can't really say that much when he comes down to the Xfinity Series and could very well outdrive what he's at. So, yeah, I mean, look, I love Eckes too, but I don't know if I trust him this week.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And I did want to mention, too, I meant to bring this up earlier. As we're recording this, the news has come out about Hocevar being in this 11 car, but the odds have not updated. So, we don't know where he's going to be on the odds board. We don't know how he might affect others. If anything, he might push some people down. Rowdy in the Discord seems to think he's going to open a 2-1 or 3-1. I think that would be crazy too high. I would expect him to be more of a 10-1, 12-1. If he's in that range, I might sort of be interested. If anybody in the chat sees him, I've been kind of checking as we go here, but if you see him drop and where his outright is, let us know. We can kind of have more of a conversation on it, but I would not be betting him at 2-1, 3-1 when you have Allgaier and Zilisch in this field in JRM cars. But to the colleague car point, that's why I would avoid that. But just wanted to toss that out there since he came up.
Good call. All right, we will get to more of our bets on the other side of the break. But first, let me tell you about our friends over at Circa Millions and Circa Survivor, the world's greatest sports book. Circa Las Vegas is hosting the world's biggest pro football contest at Circa Million, Circa Survivor, and Circa Grandissimo with over $21 million in guaranteed prizes. You can't call yourself a true DGen if you're not competing in the Circa football contest. Come and hang out with the SGPN at the Circa Contest Weekend, August 21st through August 23rd, for an amazing weekend, including live shows and, of course, open bars. That's all you got to do right there. That's all you got to know. Come out for the open bar. Plus, you get 15% off of your stay at the Circa with promo code SGP15. Contests are open to everybody. Sign up in Nevada and play from anywhere with the help of SGPN's official proxy. Go to footballcontest.com and use promo code SGP to get $50 off of your proxy fees. Told you at the top of the show, we'll tell you again. Underdog Best Ball Mania happening all summer long, giving away $15 million in prizes, including $2 million to first place. There's no waiver wires. There's no arguments about trades. Best Ball is the best way to play fantasy football. Underdog is also a great place to play Pick'em. You know, every week we give you our favorite underdog plays for the race, and you can win up to 500 times your entry. But of course, let's keep with the CFL theme, and let's keep with my Red Blacks. They're giving us Dedrick Mills. Well, maybe not the Red Blacks, but the game. Dedrick Mills of the Calgary Stampeders. He's a running back. They're putting his projection at 78.5 rushing yards on the game. Begrudgingly, I got to take the higher than on this one. Dedrick Mills has been able to do the Ottawa Red Blacks dirty the last few seasons with a couple of 100-yard games and just some pretty big outputs there at the rushing total. So give me Dedrick Mills higher than 78.5 rushing yards in that game against the Ottawa Red Blacks. Lock it down. And in the meantime, sign up with our promo code RACESGPN to claim your special pick and first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus credits. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code RACESGPN.
Rod Underdog Fantasy also has projections out for the Hall of Fame game, which is tomorrow night. NFL. But I will have an article out this evening, later on this evening, at sportsgamblingpodcast.com with my favorite underdog plays for the Hall of Fame game. So make sure you check that out and get some NFL football action. And Trey Lance. Oh, God, I'm so fucking excited. I've not gotten over the Trey Lance excitement from years ago, Rod. I know you're making that face because the 49ers absolutely whiffed on him with the third pick. But preseason Trey Lance for Jim Harbaugh, sign.
Okay, that preseason Trey Lance, yes. Regular season Trey Lance, I'm not getting.
Obviously, don't hold him to the same level he was once held to, but his excitement and what should be able to do. He did have a 5-interception preseason game for the Cowboys last year. But
yeah.
You know,
I feel like the NFL season is like school. It just continues to seem like it starts earlier every single year. It's crazy like that, but
it does. And I am here for
beautiful.
it.
All right,
for one.
Where are we going next for the race?
Well, Rod, I am going to take a little trip 39 miles away from Iowa Speedway over there on Rusty Wallace Drive to Johnston, Iowa, where Sammy Smith is from. Sammy Smith, the Iowa native, going to show up big in his home track. Not a guy that I tend to bet on a lot, honestly. He's a guy that I just, I've not really found good ways to bet on him in the past. But here at his home track, he's a guy I have circled. Finished 4th place here last year in that number 8 car for Junior Motorsports. And people that finished ahead of him, not in this race, Corey Heim, not in this race, Riley Herbst, and Sam Mayer, of course, won. So only one guy that finished ahead of him that is even in this race. So I like that. So he showed up big here at his home track last year, which you like to see. Obviously, I'm sure he's going to have plenty of family, friends in attendance, wants to show up, have a good race for them. JRM, as has been well documented, on fire as a team this year. And Sammy Smith, he's clearly the 4th guy, right? It's Zilisch and Allgaier 1A and 1A. And then Carson Qualpole's kind of probably the next guy. And then Sammy Smith is last on the list there. But he's had a pretty decent season, coming off a 7th place run at Indy last week. That's fine, right? Dover was a bit of a rough day. I'd like to have seen a better day. 24th there, but 9th at Sonoma, 7th at Chicago. Finished 4th at Bristol a few weeks ago. Okay, you like to see that. 8th at Pocono. Don't forget, Roddy, won at Rockingham. Now, that's kind of an interesting track, a 1-mile track, D-shaped. Could be some comparisons. That was a fuel mileage gambling race, but hey, got the win. I will take the wins where I can get them. 14th at Phoenix, would have liked to see a little bit better, but we've seen him be good, especially on the shorter tracks in the past over the years with some great runs as well. So that combined with JRM and how they're running right now, combined with home track for this kid, did it last year, almost 2-1 for his top 5 number. It's going to be one of the few weeks that you see me jump on the Sammy Smith bandwagon. Give me Sammy Smith top 5 plus 190. Also, Pilot Flying J, his main sponsor. They're based out of Des Moines, Iowa, hence the kind of relationship and partnership there. All ties in. I'm sure there's going to be a ton of sponsor activation and people there, along with the family and friends. If they've got a race circled, this is the one. He's the guy who's already in the playoffs via that win at Rockingham. So they just want to show up and have a great day here. And I think that might be more effort put into this car than any other throughout the season. And TK is even going to bump him up and say he's the 3rd driver at JRM, only because he's more experienced than Carson, but it is close. I'm betting on him, but I'm still going to say.
Well, and I will chime in because that's the guy I'm going to talk about next, and that's Carson Kvapil. And this is why I am thrilled to have top 10s again, because every week a Carson Kvapil top 5 is a great price, but it's not a bet that's going to hit. And you suggest a Kvapil top 5 and you hold your breath because you know that he's capable of getting it done, but he's only gotten it done 4 times in 21 starts this season. I know it's not better, but at least you're twice the chance of getting a top 10 out of Carson Kvapil, as he's done it 8 times in 21 races. But this is where we're at. We're finally getting a Carson Kvapil top 10. It's at minus 120, and it hurts because you're like, I would love long shot top 10s, and believe me, we've still got some coming for you as well. But this is one that I think you really have to take into account because Carson Kvapil, JRM, those are top 10 cars every single week. It's just a matter of getting there. Oh, and by the way, last season, the one car won this race. So, again, this is not to say that obviously Carson Kvapil and Sam Mayer are on equal footing when it comes to that realm. However, obviously, we know that Carson Kvapil he can get top 5s done. He can get top 10s done. He had 10th place at Homestead in Miami, 5th place at Darlington, 2nd place at Bristol, a 9th place at Nashville, 6th at Pocono, an 8th at Sonoma, 15th at Dover. Again, that's one where we would have wanted to see a better finish. But again, he's in and around that top 10. He's in equipment that should be a top 10 contender. Last week at Indianapolis, boy, I don't know what the hell happened to that one car. I was paying too much attention to the other folks that I was paying attention to and needed to. Just felt like, he started in 10th and just had a brick tied to him and could not get any better than 30th at the end of the day. But I don't think that's really where it's indicative of how he's going to run this week in particular. 2 of the top 4 cars from the race last year were JRM cars in Sam Mayer and Sammy Smith. So it was a battle of the Sams in that instance. But for Carson Kvapil again this year, his average start 11.6, average finish 14.5. It's a JRM car. It belongs in the top 10. If he does this right, he should have a top 10 finish at the end of the race. And I'm not sweating whether or not he's going to finish 6th or 5th in this race. I get a lot of leeway in that. And it's minus 120. Like I said, it's not a lot of, we don't like to pay the juice too much. But in this instance, I think you can and feel comfortable taking minus 120 for a top 10 for Carson Kvapil.
Yeah, I don't mind this. I mean, you're getting a JRM car for a top 10 at a number like this. It's hard to pass up on that almost no matter who's driving it, right? So, and we know how talented Carson is. These are the types of tracks that are going to tend towards more of the short track driver and towards the late model guys, which is where he's coming from.
I like
that.
Sorry. I wanted to wrap it up because I just clicked on this tab and I was like, wait, that's what I wanted to say too. Last year, 4th place at Martinsville, 2nd place at Dover, 5th at Loudon, 10th place at Indy. So all of those in the 88 car, he's capable of getting it done. Sorry. I forgot because I wanted to tag those on there because I was like, there's a stronger case to be made. And that was it. So, okay, proceed.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing that scares me on him is some inconsistencies this season. Don't always get the finish put together, but other than that, I do like it. John says he wishes his local HyVee would carry some NASCAR swag. Agreed. We've got a ton of HyVees around here as well. It's a big grocery store. If you don't know, there's the sponsor of this race, of course, but Indy, we used to be able to get so much IndyCar stuff there when they were sponsoring the HyVee IndyCar weekend, and they sponsored Christian Lundgaard, some of the other cars in the field, tons of IndyCar stuff. So I'd love for them to have some NASCAR stuff. That would be great. Also wanted to go back and touch on JDK. Said appreciate the shout out. Then he brought up Sanchez over Eckes. Of course, you were talking about fading Eckes here a few minutes ago. And Gray over Dillon. If you parlay him, plus 265. For the number, I don't mind it. Sanchez is matched up against Zilisch this week, and I couldn't pull the trigger because Zilisch has gotten better. I'm not ready to commit like I'm about to with somebody else here in a few that might surprise you all. But he's gotten better, so I'm backing off a little bit. I'm getting a little more nervous about him. Sanchez inconsistent, but can be great, right? And Gray I love this week, and I've got some thoughts over him. So we'll talk about him in a minute. But somebody else I've got some thoughts on, Dean Thompson, Rod. Dean Thompson kind of been a little bit of a darling of this show, right? He pops up every once in a while. You kind of had your spots last year where you find the top fives to bet on him at long shots. He'll cash occasionally. That's really all you're hoping for in a guy like this. And his top 10 number, plus 400 over on ESPN. And, you look at Dean Thompson this year, he's had a pretty strong season, really, if you go back and you look through things. 10th place at Indy last week, so a good run there. 16th at Dover. We're not that far out of the top 10. He was 18th at Sonoma, 14th at Chicago, so even road courses showing up. 11th at Atlanta, showing up on the big track, right? 18th at Coda, 10th at Bristol, okay, 12th at Mexico City, 17th at Pocono. This is every result over the past few weeks. Nashville, got in a crash, had a bad day, 33rd, okay, but 5th place at Charlotte. He loves Charlotte. And then some rougher days in some places, but 11th place at Rockingham, okay. 6th place at Martinsville if you want to lean into the short track side of things. 13th place at Miami, 8th place at Daytona. That's all we have to look at is this year because he's been in the Truck Series previous to this and tended to be better on the bigger tracks, worse on the shorter tracks in the Truck Series, but more wrecking going on in short tracks in the Truck Series. And you see occasionally drivers that just can't quite hack it in the trucks to be, he was fine, but they go up to the Xfinity Series and really kind of show up pretty well. So Dean Thompson has been having a pretty solid season so far this year. He, of course, is running. Is he in Sam Hunt, yeah. Right? Is that what Dean Thompson? Yes, he is. Yeah, in the 26th Sam Hunt. By the way, the 26th Sam Hunt racing car finished 3rd place here last year with Corey Heim behind the wheel, of course. So keep that part in mind. But a strong run from this car and this team last year, mixed with the season that Dean Thompson has been having this year. At 4-1, top 10s are it's tricky, right? Because you find like the quapples at minus 120, you like that. You got another guy you're going to like here in a second, and I've got one more I'm about to give out, but the long shots are kind of too long, and they don't like a Ryan Ellis. I kind of looked at. He had a decent run here last year, but I'd rather kind of this 4 or 5 to 1 area. There's some guys with good value, and another guy in that area, Matt DiBenedetto. I'm going to take his top 5 at or top 10 rather at 5-1. But if you go back to this race last season, DiBenedetto had a strong run, and he was on the 38 car at the time, but 7th place. This is essentially kind of the same team, a little bit different this year, but he's not having too bad of a season, right, for the team that it is. He's coming off an 11th place run at Indy last week, so a good run there. Dover, close-ish comp track, right, 14th last week or 2 weeks ago. Okay, good. So that's some good runs, getting close to some top 10s, stuff you like to see. You go back and you look, kind of a mixed bag of results through some stuff, but had some other decent runs kind of here and there. 16th at Las Vegas, 5th at Talladega, 15th at Texas. So there's been some good stuff sprinkled in there for DiBenedetto. And if you think back to his Cup Series years, right, a track like Bristol, a fast, shorter track, hard to comp Bristol to this one too much. It's half the distance. It's more banked, all that stuff. But it's a fast, short track. Worked out well for him, even in bad cars. He almost won in that, was that the 95 car when he almost beat Denny Hamlin that one year, right? So he's been good at that type of track throughout his career. He was good here last year. 5-1.
I love the DiBenedetto play. I was going to do that if it wasn't already in the doc. So I back you 100% on that one. And then we talked about Colleague earlier, right? How you just can't trust Colleague, and you can't. And you forget sometimes that they're a 3-car team because guess what? Daniel Dye, with all the big news of Josh Williams happening, Carson Hocevar taking it, with Christian Eckes being so crazy, inconsistent. Then there's Daniel Dye. Daniel Dye has not had a great average finish this season, 17.6, but he did pop up for an 8th place finish at Indianapolis last week after starting 18th. He's also had some top 10 and top 10 adjacent finishes this season, and 11th place at Fort Worth. 7th place in Martinsville, a 9th place in Martinsville, and then a 12th place in Las Vegas, 7th in Atlanta. I know it's a super speedway, but he's one of those guys where I just have a feeling that we're due for another top 10 run out of him, because guess what? He did it here last season. He finished in 10th place in that 10 car, and his number to get this done again. And this is what didn't make sense to me when I scrolled through the top 10, and I was like, okay, Daniel Dye, top 10. That's great. Let me see what he's got. Plus 400, 4-1 for a top 10. He did it last year, and I get it. It's not necessarily something he's done with consistency this season, but he already proved that he could get it done this year, especially last week with that 8th place at Indianapolis. Last season in that 10 car, Daniel Dye, like I said, that 10th place at Iowa, he had a 7th place at Indy, and then a 12th place later on in the season in Las Vegas, finished off 17th at Phoenix. Not top 10 finishes in both of those, but this was the year where he wasn't running a full schedule, right? He was still the truck driver that would pop into the 10 car and run that one. Daniel Dye, not just Michael's favorite camera operator inside of the car, but also a pretty decent enough driver. It's just like Eckes, right? I mean, both of these guys, obviously maybe Eckes has a little bit more in the talent department than does Daniel Dye, but I think Daniel Dye has a little more raw, just aggression that can get him into the top 10, where Eckes tries to play nice a little bit. We've seen Daniel Dye kind of stick his nose where it shouldn't be, and it gets him in trouble, right? It gets him in crashes like it did at Charlotte, where he finished 31st. But if he can run a nice, clean race, I mean, he's got Carson Hocevar in the garage this week. I mean, if anybody, you want to pick a brain of somebody that's had, okay, somebody that can drive, it's Carson Hocevar. I'm trying to say it as many nice things as I can. It's just difficult. But yeah, I mean, you got a Cup guy in the garage. It's time to pick his brain. Maybe Daniel Dye picks up a couple of tricks of the trade, maybe follows him along, and just winds up in a top 10 finish. 4-1 for the guy that got it done last year on this track. I like those odds.
Yeah, I got it done last year, so that's obviously a positive. You also have to think he's looking at the desk next to him, and Josh Williams just got fired. So I don't know about you, Rod, but if the guy that's at the desk sitting next to me, same job as I do, getting similar results as I get, at least for a little while, trying to keep my job. So maybe a little bit of a wicklet underneath of him that will help him out.
Indeed.
Back to the Dean Smith, Dean Smith, great basketball coach. Dean Thompson, rather. Me and Dean, Sam saying, and then TK also chiming in. Dean seems to stay out of trouble most days, good survivor. He does seem a lot better at that in the Xfinity Series than he was in the Cup Series, but it's definitely translated well for him. All right, Rod, I am going to give someone a chance this week. Someone that I've mostly been against. Don't shit yourself. It's not William Sawalich, but it's probably the next worst thing to that. Somebody that I've been against for a while and have said mean things about and have betted against and made money off of. But I've seen some things lately. I am convinced that there could be something there, and he's in a great car. Maybe I should have mentioned this on the entry list, but Corey Day is in the number 17 car for Hendrick Motorsports this week, Rod. I'm going to take Corey Day, not one bet, but two bets on him. I'm going to take him for a top 10 at plus 150. I'm also going to take him to win Group B over on Bet365 at plus 280. He's the long shot in this group. Going up against Christian Eckes, Nick Sanchez, and dare I say it, Ryan Sieg is in this group, Rod. Here is my I know it's tough to process, but I feel like after last week, we saw him in the Truck Series go out to IRP, run second place. That's coming off the heels of a fifth place finish at Nashville a couple of weeks ago as well in the Truck Series. Now he's only got 4 starts in Xfinity. They've all been ish, right? 21st at Martinsville, 16th at Texas, 11th at Nashville. So on the ovals, he's improved each of them, right? Actually, by 5 spots in particular at each of them. If my math is correct, and I think that it is. Yes, from 21st, 16th to 11th. So he's due for about a 6th place finish, aka top 10 this week, which would be great. 24th at Sonoma last time out, road course, right? We'll kind of I don't think he's really got any road experience. He's a dirt track guy coming into the series, right? So not going to hold that against him. But the runs at IRP last week in the truck, Nashville a couple of weeks ago, which could also be some comps to this track. I suppose you could draw some stuff. Good runs. I think that we know Corey Day is a talented driver, right? A talented sprint car guy. He's been thrust into this position. He's got Kyle Larson, first of all, is the guy pushing for Corey Day to get these rides. Rick Hendrick is behind him because he slapped his name on his cars, and he's driving a Hendrick Motorsports car. So the combination of we've seen improvement, he's in a great car, he's got great backing, he's got great drivers vouching for him, all maybe coming together, sort of is making me like Corey Day this week on a track that's a short, flatter track, like more for not necessarily a dirt track guy track, but shorter track, kind of going to be more his speed, like an IRP was last week in the Truck Series. So I've seen enough out of Corey Day that I'm going to flip the script on the hate, and I'm going to ride him in a couple of ways. The top 10, I think it's great. A plus 150, I think it's a good number for a great car with potentially a good driver in it, right? And once these guys, Swalich, I've shot on him a lot, and I've backing off that a little bit now. But if he continues to put together good finishes, we're going to have to start looking at him because he's in a great car. And we've seen at the ARCA level, he's capable of running really well. But while he wasn't figuring it out, you got to take advantage. But you also have to be willing to flip the switch and turn on these guys, whichever way it is, to the good or to the bad, when they start performing or underperforming. And so I'm in on Day this week. For the Eckes group, we've obviously talked about that. The inconsistencies are there. Sanchez is a guy I like, a guy that's capable of running well every week. But there are still some inconsistencies in that big machine car. Doesn't always get great runs. And Ryan Sieg, I think, is going to be a solid, strong driver for the day. Top 10, top 15 maybe. And I'm just thinking Day is going to be a little bit better. With him being the long shot in that group, I'm going to ride him. So give me Corey Day, Group B, plus 280. That's over on Bet365. And then I'm going to take his top 10 on ESPN at plus 150.
It's a new day, Cody. It's just it's a new day. Look, here's the thing with him. I think he's done enough to put himself into the conversation. Just like you said, it just anytime you hear it now, it's and then look, Corey Day, and not just in the Xfinity Series, but the Truck Series as well. When he runs in that, he's putting himself in the conversation, and that's really what you take away from it. Is if the announcers are talking about you, they're usually talking about the cars that are running around the front. So that means that you're putting yourself in a position to be in contention.
Yeah, and there's just been enough improvement between both series that I think this is the time where let's bite a little bit on a plus 150 for a Hendrick car to finish top 10. And if he comes out and stinks this weekend, I'm probably going to flip right back and just start betting against him again until we start really seeing something different. But this could be our opportunity to start getting in a little bit, get some decent numbers before the numbers drop because they realize, hey, this is a decent driver and a good car, and we don't get that opportunity anymore. So jumping a little bit out on a limb, but a limb I feel good about. I'd imagine, Knoxville Nationals are going on this weekend as well, just down the road. I'd imagine him and Larson are riding back and forth, doing that, talking about both tracks, like getting in his groove. Although I don't know that you want to rub off from Larson, but that can whatever. Never mind. I don't know if you want to take too much from Larson currently, but is what it is.
Speaking of jumping off on limbs, this one's scary. This is a Sheldon Creed top 5, and I'm
scary. You're not taking him to win.
No, you're not. That actually wouldn't do that. There's no way you do that. Sheldon Creed top 5. The reason that I'm going off on this limb, right? It's plus 275, and for a guy that's finished second place, probably the most in all of motorsports ever, right? I don't know that there's ever a driver in any discipline, in any sort of league, that has finished in second place more than has Sheldon Creed. I'm not going to bore you with the details because you already know if you are a NASCAR fan at all. The reason this is scary, Cody, is that Sheldon Creed this season, more DNFs than he's got top 5 finishes. That's the rough part about this whole thing. This Haas factory car, it started out okay, right? He finished 3rd at Daytona, and you were like, all right, this is fantastic. But then he went off and got 14th in Atlanta, 12th at COTA, 36th. He crashed out of Phoenix, did finish 10th in Vegas. But then he started to turn it around. 5th at Homestead, 2nd at Martinsville, 10th at Darlington. Those are pretty solid runs. Then he crashes out at both Bristol and Rockingham, a couple of short tracks. 9th place at Talladega, he thought it was a rebound, right? Nope. Texas, he crashed out, finished 36th. Then he comes out and finished 10th at Charlotte, 4th at Nashville, 11th at Mexico City. And you're like, all right, Sheldon Creed's back. Nope. Crash. Pocono and Atlanta, 36th and 32nd. Comes back for a 3rd place at Chicago, 10th place at Sonoma. Road courses. You expect Sheldon Creed to do well there because he's a good road course racer, right? And then an 8th place at Dover. And you're like, Sheldon Creed is back, baby. And then he starts at 3rd place in Indianapolis and falls out and finishes 17th. So it's a scary proposition. I didn't want to take the top 10 number for Sheldon Creed because it was too juiced. But I do feel like if he's going to finish in the top 10, he's going to finish in the top 5 because guess what? Last year in 2024, Sheldon Creed started in 3rd place in his number 18 Joe Gibbs, friend of Jacqueline Foundation, a Toyota, and ended up finishing in 5th place. So I think he still has the talent to be able to take this Haas factory car into a 5th place finish. And like I said, if he's going to finish in the top 10, he'll probably end up finishing top 5. So plus 275 for Sheldon Creed, who's finished 2nd place. He's still finishing in 2nd place right now. Today, he just finished 2nd place doing something. I don't know what it was, but he finished in 2nd place. So I'm going to give him a top 5 finish this week at plus 275.
Yeah, I don't mind this at all. Good run here last year, and you kind of made the case there. And he's good at top 5s. Winning the race is where he struggles, but he is good at top 5, so I'll take that. Somebody that's really caught my eye lately just continues to perform better and better. We've been on this guy since day one, back in the Truck Series, before anybody knew who he was. We have been Shifty's Rod, and that is Mr. Taylor Gray. Tay Gray, of course. I'm going to take his top Toyota at plus 130. This feels like a great way to get in on him. It's a small group, right? There's only 5 Toyotas in the field. You have the 4 JGR Toyotas, and you have Dean Thompson. Shout out to Dean Thompson. 10-1 is the long shot. I don't mind if you want to grab a little bit of that as well. Then you'd have 2 of the 5 guys, which is actually maybe I will grab a little bit of Dean Thompson. Okay, we're going to add that to the card here, Rod. I'm going to go ahead and put that in here. But, yeah, give me Dean Thompson, too. I just mentioned him and why I like him. But then the only thing I'm really scared of in here is Brandon Jones. So in the Toyota group, only 5 of them. You got Brandon Jones. He can be hit or miss. Short flats, he's usually pretty decent on. I'll just take Taylor Gray. And you kind of look at it as a head-to-head. You're getting him plus 130. Fine. William Swalich is in there. Again, he's got a little respect, but I'm not scared of him yet, right? Maybe someday I will. And then Justin Bonsignor is 3-1. I know he's a modified guy, and I know he's in a good car, but I don't think we've seen that much out of Justin Bonsignor that makes you want to run to the window and bet on him either. So, and then, of course, Dean Thompson, which we're adding to the card anyways. So now Gray and Thompson just have to beat these other 3 guys. That could be a top 5. That could be 15th, 20th place, depending on how the race goes, right? So I think that's a great market. And for Taylor Gray, he has been outstanding this year, coming off a 3rd place finish at Indy last week, 7th at Dover, 7th at Sonoma, bad day at Chicago, but 5th at Atlanta, 5th at Coda, 2nd in Mexico City. He's had some really, really good runs down the stretch here. Ran 2nd at Texas earlier this year as well. Phoenix, the other quote-unquote comp track we have, a 6th place run for him there. So it's been a great year for Taylor Gray so far this year. And he had some runs in Xfinity last year where he jumped up into these JGR cars. 3rd place at Richmond, as we talked about, kind of a comp track that jumps off the page to you. And a couple other decent runs to it at Pocono, Michigan, some bigger tracks. But Taylor Gray's kind of been, maybe even I would argue he's been the best regular of the full-time guy, the 3 full-time guys at JGR. He's kind of been the best one. So give me Taylor Gray, top Toyota, plus 130. Just a little insurance play on Dean Thompson there at 10-1. I think you kind of have that market cornered. Only guy I'm sort of scared of leaving out on is Brandon Jones, but just more look at it as a head-to-head. You're taking these 2 guys head-to-head against Brandon Jones. I don't mind that at all.
You don't got to sell me on my Shifty. I love it. You don't got any bad blood here. We're definitely all Shifties at heart. All right. Well, then we talked about Austin Dillon driving that 21. The Austin, formerly known as Hill, is now driving the 21 car, and his top 5 number is at plus 150 over on Hard Rock. I'm taking that one. There is a reason why Richard Childress jumped on the phone immediately after finding out Austin Hill was suspended and said, Austin, get your ass in that 21. Why? Because he has been absolute money for Childress in the 3-car when he was in the Xfinity Series on this track. 3 of the 4 finishes that he's had over the last few seasons in that 3-car have been top 4 finishes. A 4th place finish in 2012, a 2nd place finish in 2013 after starting on the pole, and then a 4th place finish in 2013. But on top of that, he has led 376 laps in those 3 race spans around the 207 laps in the 2013 race and didn't win, but he still ended up a runner-up in that one. He led 116 laps in that 2013 race. Here's the thing about it, guys. I mean, you can say what you will about I know it's a different field. I know it's a different car. I know it's a different, yeah. But when you lead 376 laps in a 3-race span, I think you know how to drive this track, right? And I almost feel like it's muscle memory at this point where he will jump back in this car and figure it out again, even though it's different, even though it's not his. Sometimes you just have a specific area where you are good at and you can do what you've been able to do. It's just repeat itself over and over and over again. So a top 5 at plus money for Austin Dillon in this instance is, I think it's actually a pretty good steal if you ask me, because you know he's going to be competitive. You know he's going to be able to go out there and run well on a track that he runs well at. You know, it's a different car, yeah, but you get a couple of minutes of practice and you go, okay, this is where the light switch is. This is where this is. And I think it'll just snap back to him, and it'll be just like jumping back in the wheel of that 3-car and piling it around. So give me Austin Dillon top 5 plus 150. I'll take that.
Yeah, he's a good driver. If you do want to use Richmond as a comp, great there in the Cup Series last year. Of course, he picked up the win. And before he wrecked those guys, he was on his way to winning anyways. So he had a good car that day. He's been really, lights out in the Xfinity Series for RCR back in the day. And he's not jumping into the 11 car or an extra this car. It's the 21 car that Austin Hill, we tend to talk about, finishes near the top 5 most weeks. So, I don't mind this at all for Austin Dillon, especially a plus
beautiful stuff. All right, well, somebody's got to win this race, Cody. Who do we think it's going to be?
Somebody's got to win this race, Rod. I think it's picking between the top 2. They're the favorites, of course, right? It's Connor Zilisch is his name, and Justin Allgaier, right? And they're co-favorites. They are at, what are they at? Plus 250, I think, a piece, or somewhere in that range. Yeah, plus 240 for Allgaier, plus 250 for Zilisch. If you want to pick one of those guys, you can figure out which one to bet on. Go for it. I think you're fine there. They're probably going to win this race, I guess is how I would put it. But I think you're splitting straws. I don't feel great about one over the other. I'm just going to avoid betting them. I'm going to take some longer shots. Sammy Smith, 14-1, hometown kid. Finished great here last year. JRM's already been great this season. Maybe a piano falls. Maybe Zilisch has an issue. Is Zilisch really going to win 4 races in a row? Not going to put it past him, but 4 in a row is tough to do, right? If Allgaier has an issue too, I think Sammy Smith can put himself in position like he did at Rockingham earlier this season to come home with the win. Home track, hometown for the sponsor, all that stuff. Taylor Gray has had a ton of speed in JGR equipment this year, 14-1. Talked about him a little bit earlier as well. I love him. And then, Rod, I said 2 bets. That was a lie. It's actually going to be 3. It's 60-1 for the Hendrick Motorsports entry. Give me some Corey Day to win this outright. We saw him just finish second in the truck race last week to Lane Riggs. He looked good. He is in what is a very fast car. We've seen it be fast. Obviously, a lot of times it's got Hendrick Cup drivers in it, but Raja Kruth, I think, has had some decent runs in there, along with some other guys that have made starts. So, yeah, it's 60-1 over on ESPN. Give me a little sprinkle on Corey Day, just in case he really does hit this week.
And if anybody's going to surprise, it's going to be him. And like you said earlier in the show too, he's going to be probably a contender, if not a top 10, a top 5 contender. And these short tracks, we know that there's danger lurking around every single corner. A back marker gets caught at the wrong time and gets spun out and takes out the first 3 or 4 cars. It's just, there's a lot of danger to be had. And if you're in the right position at the right time, you could steal a win.
Yeah. And that's at 60-1. That's what you're hoping for. Is Corey Day going to go out and lead every lap in this race and dominate? No, it's highly unlikely. Does he run top 5 near the end of the race? Oh, shit, we go to overtime. Gray and Allgaier get together and take out Zilisch. And, now the top 3 cars are out of the race, and suddenly he's sitting there. Oh, now we're in the second or third overtime. Somebody else gets wrecked, and he sneaks underneath. Like, at 60-1 in the car he's in, he could put himself in position. That's what you're hoping for. And after a result like the second place in the Truck Series just last week, where, hey, he kind of surprised and he was right there to pounce. What if he's in that situation again and Lane Riggs blows a tire and hits the wall and suddenly he goes by, right? It's enough that I've seen just enough that at the number and in this car in particular, a Hendrick Motorsports car at 60-1.
Or someone, it turns into a boxing match and someone takes a left hook, like Laura says. Absolutely agree with you on that one. It's funny because we talk through hypotheticals, and that's really, we're playing out scenarios, and it's not as if we're trying to justify much. We're just trying to say, look, these things happen in this sport, and this is the type of stuff that you got to keep in mind, because if you just bet straight chalk, you may be a winner some weeks, but like most of the time you're not.
Sometimes it works out. Sometimes it doesn't. And that's the other thing. Like, just because we're betting him at 60-1, if he goes out and runs 24th all day long, well, he was 60-1. Now, don't be super upset about that. The top 10, I'm going to be a little upset about, and the group bet's going to suck. But like at 60-1, you don't expect him to be the car that wins this race. That's why he's 60-1. But we've seen plenty of times. You had a long shot winner in the Cup Series just this past week in Bubba Wallace, right? We've seen long shot winners come through, and you just have to find, can he be in the right situation that could lead to one of these crazy endings or shit happening, and he ends up being in the right place. He's got Hendrick guys calling the strategy for him. Probably not going to be a lot of tire wear this weekend. There's some wet stuff in the forecast. Does it get cut short when they flip the stage right? Like, there's enough things that could put him in the right position. He could do it. That's why you take that type of bet at that number. Now, does Connor Zilisch and Justin Allgaier go lead every lap of this race together and, finish half a splitter apart from each other at the end of the day? Probably. That's probably what's going to happen, right? But if it doesn't, we got
Johnny wants to gamble, but Johnny doesn't want to lose money. Johnny bets the favorites. Johnny still loses money. Johnny can't figure out why. He can't gamble. All right, listen, Sam Mayer is my outright pick. It was the guy that I put in the doc. The very first thing that when I filled it, even before I filled out the race name or anything like that, I put in Sam Mayer, 12-1, should not be 12-1. He won this race last season. Cody just told you all about it when he stole all of my stats for his top 5 number. But I think, look, for Sam Mayer, when you're coming off of a run, like, he's so disappointed he didn't win last. I mean, you saw it on his face. He knew that it was an uphill battle for him. He led 32 laps in that race. He started on the pole. Things were looking so good for Sam Mayer, and unfortunately, he just couldn't get it done. And that wears on him. And now he's coming back to a track in which he has won already, and he's got to be feeling good, especially after a second place finish last week, right? And then a really solid look. 4 out of the last 6 races that he's been in have been top 10 finishes, right? 2 of them have been top 3, and he finished 3rd in Nashville, 5th at Texas, 5th at Martinsville, 2nd at Homestead, 5th at Vegas, 7th at Phoenix. Been running really well this year in that Haas factory equipment. In fact, you can say he's been running better than his teammate Sheldon Creed, unfortunately for Creed. But Sam Mayer's been piloting that vehicle a lot better than his teammate. And I think, like you said, the confidence earlier of a second place finish from last week is going to carry through. And 12-1 for the guy that just came in second place last week on I know a huge, gigantic 2.5 mile track, but and that had won the race last year. I don't know why he's this is high, but you got to jump on this one. You got to jump on the 12-1.
And we're due for Sam Mayer to show up and be the Sam Mayer that we've seen him be in the past. Yeah. So I like it. I think this.
And he hasn't won a race yet. That's the scary part about it, right? He has yet to win a race this season. And
has he not won this season? Sammy Smith has won.
Hasn't. I know it's kind of crazy, isn't it? I was looking at the stats earlier, and I was like, wait, he hasn't won a race yet. It feels like he should have.
Yeah, that is surprising. Yeah, he has not won it. Is interesting. Ash checking out Zilisch to finish first, Mayer to finish second at 22-1. If you like the exacta there, It says worth a nibble. May do the Allgaier as well. Don't mind that. If that's a good way to get in on Zilisch winning, not at plus 220 or whatever it said it was. And if Mayer's right there with him, like we expect him to be, yeah, I don't mind it.
I love it. Very much love it. All right, get out your pen and paper. It's time to go over our bets for this HyVee Perks 250. And of course, if you're on the YouTubes, as the kids say, it's time to screenshot our picks. I started you off with Ryan Sieg over Christian Eckes at minus 120. I then gave you Carson Kvapil as a top 10 car at minus 120. Said Daniel Dye would sneak his way into a top 10 finish like he did last year at 4-1. Sheldon Creed, holding my breath and plugging my nose and taking a top 5 at plus 275 for Sheldon Creed. Austin Dillon, top 5 at plus 150. Load me up on that one. And Sam Mayer to win the race at 12-1, last year's winner. 2 repeat on the day. Cody said Sam Mayer would finish inside of the top 5, which if he wins, and exactly what he does, at plus 150. He gave you Sammy Smith to finish as a top 5 car at plus 190. Dean Thompson, our boy with the stash, top 10, 4-1. Matt DiBenedetto, top 10 at 5-1. And then I always want to say Daniel Day because it's Daniel Dye, but it's not. Young Driver Day as a top 10 car at plus 150. And then to win the Group B over on Bet365 at plus 280, Gimme Tay Gray, top Toyota, plus 135 for Cody. And then Sammy Smith, 14-1, Gray, 14-1, and Day, Smith, Gray, and Day. The law firm of Smith, Gray, and Day. Day at 60-1 to win this race.
Smith, Gray, and Day. All your legal service needs, check them out.
Can they? Do you think they'll sponsor us? Smith, Gray, and Day?
Hey, maybe they will. Maybe one of them winning this weekend is our sponsor.
That'd be fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, we're brought to you today by the law firm of Smith, Gray, and Day, where we've got your parlays all day. All right.
That's right.
That'll do it for the Xfinity race.
I love it.
Back tomorrow with DFS, Cody. And Laura's thanking us for the graphics. We're finally 654 episodes into it. I think we're getting the swing of things.
Yes, we've figured out a easier way, I think, to get it done. So we're doing the best.
Yeah, we are. All right, Cody. Well, then let's turn everybody loose so they can get their card set before these lines moves. Charles.
Yeah, and Charles was saying had a rocket ship at Homestead. I believe that was Sam Mayer he was talking about. I think that was a race he was fast and as TK points out, having a similar year to Tyler Reddick where they can win, should win, just haven't done it yet. But hopefully this could be the weekend for me.
I would love nothing more for my card. So, all right. Well then, Cody, as we turn everybody loose, let everyone know where they can find you until they see you again tomorrow.
Yes, I will be live here in about an hour and 15 minutes over on the Old Fashioned Football Podcast. So make sure you go over to their YouTube, check that out. We're going to be talking AFC East, of course, with a special emphasis on the New England Patriots, my favorite team. So make sure you check that out tomorrow. I will be live around 3:30 Central Time on the Sports Gambling Podcast for their, of course, they're doing the 32 NFL previews. I will be there for the Patriots as well. Talk about that. A lot of Patriots talk. Super excited. Hall of Fame game stuff. It's tomorrow, Rod. I'll have a betting article, best bets out tonight on sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Underdog picks for that on sportsgamblingpodcast.com as well. So make sure you check all that out. And to find all of these things in one simple, easy place, follow me on the X at Husker_Zeeb. I'll share it all there. Makes it easy to find. Appreciate all you for following over there. And probably be a little bit of a later episode tomorrow, but we will be back tomorrow, of course, for some DFS talk.
Can't wait. Follow me on Twitter at RJ Villagomez, linking about everything I got going on, whether it's here. Make sure tomorrow, even after, or I'm sure we won't coincide too much with the in-between media folks over there. Seth and Elliot holding it down on the back road. Make sure you check that out. Look, I've also got a new fantasy football podcast as well. Check it out in the Twitter as well at RJ Villagomez once a week.
It's a great show. I've enjoyed the first 2 weeks of it. A couple of great hosts there. So
yeah, if you like fantasy football, check that out as well. All right. We kept you long enough. We'll see you guys tomorrow with some DFS talk. Till then, let's go racing and let it ride.